Did you know that March is Women's History Month, National Nutrition Month, and National Kidney Month? It is basically a month honoring everything that is Melanie and the Kidney Dietitian. To celebrate, I'm running special pop-up sales for the entire month of March 2024. To stay informed, make sure you are on my email list. You can get a free kidney-friendly snack list and subscribe to get all the details of these special sales all month at www.kidneystonefreebie.com. That is www.kidneystonefreebie.com. Welcome to the Eat Away Kidney Stones podcast. I'm your host, registered dietitian and kidney stone expert, Melanie Betts. After learning a ton about kidney stones and helping people prevent stones at the University of Chicago, I was fed up with all the terrible advice people were finding online. So I decided to do something about it. The Kidney Dietitian was born. This podcast is for people who want to learn what actually works to prevent kidney stones and still enjoy life, eating, and their favorite foods. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome to the 36th episode of the Eat Away Kidney Stones podcast. I'm your host, registered dietitian and kidney stone expert, Melanie Betts, and today we're going to be talking about a very actionable, hopefully very helpful thing of simply how to get a 24-hour urine test. If you've been around for a while, you know that I talk about these tests quite a bit because I truly believe that without getting this test, there's really no way to know what we can do to most effectively prevent kidney stones for you. And unfortunately, only about 20 people with kidney stones ever get this test, despite it being recommended by the American Urological Association that everyone that has at least one kidney stone get this test, or people that are interested parties. So basically people who've had stones that are interested in doing things to prevent them, which I have to imagine is basically anyone with a kidney stone. So in my opinion, everyone in a perfect world should be getting this 24-hour urine test. So kind of to dive in, before I get into the nitty gritty of exactly how to get this 24-hour urine test, I wanted to just give a quick overview of why this test really is so important. I know that I've done this a million times in my other content and other episodes, but truly I cannot stress how important this test is because this test is really going to tell us why you are making kidney stones. So even if we know what type of kidney stone you have, that's certainly useful information. However, it doesn't really tell us why that stone was being made. So we always talk about calcium oxalate stones because those are by far the most common type of kidney stone. And that's great to know that you have calcium oxalate stones, but there are many, many different potential things that could be going on that's really driving your stone formation. So that could be very different than, the guy sitting next to you at the doctor's office with kidney stones with the exact same type of kidney stone could be having a completely different situation going on in his urine, basically, as to why he's making stones. So if we don't know why you are making stones or why you're likely to make stones in the future, we're really just kind of guessing what we can actually do to prevent them. So it really is so important to get this urine test at a very minimum annually, actually. So typically, when I was working at the University of Chicago, they actually mandate that people get 2 to 3 tests before they even see you to have, again, some idea of what we can do, because we would just be guessing. We would have no idea what we could do to prevent stones without this data. So typically you kind of get this baseline information and then you would work with your doctor and your dietitian to maybe make some changes and then get another test maybe 3 or 6 months later until things are pretty stable. And then at that point you would generally get those maybe once a year or so. Of course, that's going to be very different based on your situation. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of give that some background information about why this test really is so important. Because if we are at all interested in prevention, it is a must to get this 24-hour urine test. So how do you get it? How can you go about getting this test, this magical test that's going to tell you what you need to know about stone prevention? So the vast majority of 24-hour urine testing for kidney stones in the United States is done by a company called Litholink. Litholink is a lab that is designed to do this stone panel for 24-hour urine tests, which is a really big deal because when you get a full Litholink stone panel, if you will, you measure all sorts of things. I'm not even going to go into the detail of all of them because it measures a lot of things. So it's really the best way to make sure that, you're going to go through the hassle, because it is kind of a hassle to collect your urine for an entire 24-hour period. That's the best way to know that you really are going to get all of the data that you you and your doctor and I, your dietitian, need to really put together a stone prevention plan for you. So, and Litholink, I will say, is also super easy to use. At full disclosure, I'm not affiliated with Litholink in any way. I do know some of the doctors who founded Litholink, but I don't get any cash back for Litholinks. I know I sound like I'm promoting it, but it really is just the best way to get these complete stone panels, as opposed to some of the other labs that do them. So Litholink, like I said, is available anywhere as far as I know in the United States, and it all is done online. It's super easy. So all your doctor needs to do is to go into the Litholink site, and I'll put a link in the show notes to Litholink's website. They just need to go in and basically place the order for you to get this urine test, because you do need a doctor's order to get a 24-hour urine test, unfortunately. Your urologist is generally the one that is placing these orders, or if you see a nephrologist for kidney stone prevention, then they would certainly be the ones doing that as well. But a dietitian or nurse, we are unable to place these orders. So you do need an MD or DO order for this Litholink panel. So your doctor just needs to go in, put in that order for you, and then Litholink does everything. So you will get a 24-hour urine testing kit in the mail. It's going to have some big jugs. It's going to have a little box to send back your sample when you're done. It's going to have a preservative the preservative is just a little tube of liquid that you put into the jug before you start collecting your urine to make sure that all of the things that they want to measure are stable, because some of the things that they test, even in that 24-hour period, they could be reduced basically as the urine is sitting there. So we really want to get that preservative in. And then basically you just collect your urine for that day. You mix it all up and you take just a small sample, just a vial of that sample, and you just mail it back. Or you can, if you're in a city with a LabCorp location, oftentimes you can just drop that off. So, but there's very specific instructions in there for how to do it. And then after that, Litholink gets your sample, obviously, and they will analyze it. Many times your doctor may also order some blood work, some lab work. So when you go drop off your sample, you might need to get a blood draw because it can be really helpful to look at the urine test in the context of your labs on that day, if that makes sense. But sometimes your doctor doesn't need a blood test. That's kind of individual. And then once your urine sample is analyzed, your results will be posted to this online portal via Litholink, and both you and your doctor can access them. So really straightforward. Again, since it's all by mail, it's really, really great because even rural areas are able to access this testing. And it's, again, super easy with this online portal ordering system. Now, that being said, sometimes Litholink is not an option, whether it's your doctor's preference to use a different lab. So I get a lot of questions about, well, what am I going to do if I can't get Litholink for whatever reason? And my advice to you would be to just get as many of the following things that I'm about to mention measured. So likely your lab is not going to be able to do all of these measurements, but we really want to get as many as possible. A Litholink panel is going to measure a lot more than what I'm about to list, but as a dietitian, these are the things that I'm most interested in when I'm looking at that Litholink panel. So the first thing is your 24-hour urine volume. This might be the most important thing. How much are you peeing? We generally want to see that higher. We want to see that at least 2.5 liters per day. So we want to get a 24-hour urine volume. That's pretty straightforward. We also want to get 24-hour urine calcium. This high urine calcium, for the record, is generally what is driving most people's stone formation, and there are specific things that we can do nutritionally and also medications if necessary to get that urine calcium down. We also want to get a 24-hour urine oxalate, of course. We want to get a pH, and it is really ideal to get this 24-hour urine pH as opposed to like a quick spot urine, like when you go pee in a cup at the doctor. They tend to test your pH for that spot urine, but your pH changes dramatically throughout the day depending on when you last ate and all sorts of other factors. So it's really good to have kind of this average over the whole day of what that pH looks like. We also want to look at uric acid. we want to look at urine urea nitrogen, or UUN. This is going to actually give us a very good idea of how much protein you're eating, so that is helpful for kidney stone prevention. We also want to get a 24-hour urine sodium, which is going to tell us exactly how much sodium you're eating, which is really useful for stone prevention. And we also want to get, in an ideal world, urine potassium and magnesium, because these are things that might be of interest to your dietitian or doctor as they're working with you to put together a personalized kidney stone prevention plan. So that was a lot of information, but hopefully it was helpful. I actually have a document that is it's my tips to ask your urologist for a 24-hour urine test that has a lot of this information in there. I'll put a link to get that freebie in the show notes if you want to grab that, because it really is, I know it can be kind of scary to go to your doctor, be like, hey doctor, I talked to this random girl online or heard from this random girl online that I should get this test. So I put a document together for you to kind of understand a little bit more about this test, why it's so important, and some frequently asked questions about the test, and also how to address some of the pushback that I've heard doctors give patients when they want to get the test. I will say the vast majority of times when, from my understanding, when people go to their doctor and ask for this test, they're going to get it. Occasionally I'll get pushback, but there have been, I've worked with some people whose doctors are not interested in ordering the test. And so I have some tips for you to push back if needed, but most generally you won't need to. So I will again put that link to that document in the show notes. I hope that it is helpful for you, and I hope that this whole episode was helpful. I know this one is a little bit different than many of the other episodes, but I thought it was helpful since I've been getting this question a ton lately, to really dedicate a whole episode of how do you actually get this urine test? And the answer is your doctor should be ordering it for you, ideally through Litholink, but if you don't have access to Litholink for whatever reason, if you're not in the United States, or if your doctor prefers to use a different lab, we do want to try to get as many of those things that I mentioned measured as possible. So with that, I will end this episode of the Eat Away Kidney Stones podcast, and I hope to see you back soon. Thank you for listening to today's episode. For more help with kidney stones, check out my website, www.thekidneydietitian.org. For more personalized help from me, check out my online course, Kidney Stone Nutrition School. VIP enrollment includes help directly from me. I can't wait to see you there and help you prevent kidney stones. Have a great day.